Hey everybody, Josh Dravenset here. I'm the social media coordinator at American House. We're talking to Jodie Audia, who is the Vice President of Life Enrichment and Cognitive Programming. Before we delve into the conversation, do you want to just tell us a little bit about how long you've been in senior living and your role here at American House?
Yes, of course. Hello everyone. I am Jodie Audia, as Josh told you. I've been a registered nurse for about 26 years. I've always had a passion for seniors, there's a love in my heart for them. And so I did a big career change about 4 years ago when I ventured into senior living, and I've never looked back. I enjoy my work immensely, and having the opportunity to program for them, it's what I do.
Yeah, that's great. So today the topic is brain health. But before we delve into that, can you just explain a little bit about the overall mindfulness programming here at American House?
Yes. So, as we're going into this next decade, and especially coming out of COVID, we really took a look at what programs are out there and what our residents need and want. And so the mindfulness program came about where we took those fun leisure activities, the happy hours, the entertainers, the outings, bingo, of course, they
Classic.
love it. Right, and so that's the leisure activities. But then there's so much science behind the benefit of learning something new. And so that's where we are focusing on allowing people to use their own creativity and learn something new through our brain health program, through our guest speakers, through our lecturers, something to stimulate them in a different way. As we know, we have many residents with many different likes, disliked goals. And so our goal is really to just kind of cover it all so that we have something to offer for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. And also our mission here is living well is being well. How does that kind of tie into the brain health program?
I love that mission statement. Living well is being well. And as you know, we feel that if you live well, you will be well. And so it ties into the entire program with where we're constantly evaluating what does that mean. And for me, it's the happy, healthy. So that goes back to the mindfulness programming, where we have a program called Come Fly With Me. It's a lot of fun. It's a happy initiative. But then we have Brain Health, which is our healthy initiative. So we're feeding many different appetites. And so I think it's a really nice balance between the two. So living well is being well, a happier, healthier you couldn't be stronger in life enrichment than it is right now.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, so brain health. What made you decide to bring in the current program that we're doing?
The reason I brought brain health in, there's many reasons. And I will start again by saying COVID made us rethink things. So during the COVID phases, when our residents had to isolate in their rooms, it had a tremendous impact on their health. And so when I looked at the research is overwhelmingly pointing in the direction that social engagement is so important. It's so important for your brain health. It's important for your physical health, just your overall well-being. So when I started looking into brain health programs, what stuck out about Total Brain Health, the program we're currently using, is it's research-based, and it is a very unique program that is based off of social interaction. So the social interaction is very deliberate. When we look at, say, if we're doing a painting class, just because somebody comes to the painting class does not mean they're being social. Many don't talk to each other. They're individually there for their own reasons. However, when we do Total Brain Health, it's very deliberate. So we go through seminars that challenge each individual, challenge them to be social because they have to talk to one another, challenge them to remember what their partner told them. And it's fun. It is a lot of fun. And the biggest takeaway I've had from the Brain Health program is it's almost a support group for our seniors because they're learning they're not alone. There's other people who have the same interests, the same struggles, and how do we get them to a different point? So it has been absolutely wonderful. It's a successful program.
That's great.
Yeah.
So part of the program is an integration of mind, body, and spirit approach. So we're going to just talk about individually those for a little bit. So when it comes to the mind, how does the total brain health training help cognition?
It helps in a few different ways. It's really multifaceted when you talk about cognitive stimulation. So what we're focusing on, we do a program called Brain Workout 1.0. The purpose of this program is to lay a foundation. So when you venture into a wellness paradigm, it's almost, you have to make the decision that you want to make a lifestyle change. And so what we're doing in this first 9 months that we have rolled this out is laying that foundation, the why behind the science. Why is this important? Why is the decisions that you're making today going to help you in the future? And that's where the research shows that social engagement by far helps you maintain your thinking, and it helps slow cognitive decline. And I think all of us, and with these numbers of Alzheimer's or dementia-related diseases, it scares all of us. And so what can we do to keep that mind sharp, keep our residents engaged, and really help them learn something new?
Yeah, love it. You've kind of talked about this briefly. What studies have been done to prove efficacy?
There has been so many studies, many different studies. As we all know, we don't have a cure for Alzheimer's or dementia at this time. What's really important in the studies that are coming out is what can we do to identify it and slow it down, and hopefully one day have a cure.
Absolutely.
And so there's a really unique study, it's actually out of London, where they took taxi cab drivers, and what they found in the taxi cab drivers is their hippocampus, which lives in the middle of your brain, which is involved for your memory. It's what helps you remember things. Their hippocampus is very large, much larger than a non-taxi cab driver. And if you think about a taxi cab driver, especially in London, where they have to do wayfinding, they have to understand where the roads are, how to get somebody from point A to point B. And so that's where there's a lot of research going into what's called a cognitive reserve. Every time you learn something new, every time you challenge your brain, you have those social interactions, you actually put a deposit into this reserve. And what this reserve does is it makes your brain stronger. So if by God you ever had to face a brain disorder such as Alzheimer's or dementia or a brain injury, your brain is stronger and it almost can learn how to find pathways around the diseased part to help you keep functioning. And so that's where there's so much research in why total brain health is so important, why just focusing on brain health and really stimulating Sudoku, crossword puzzles. Those are fantastic, but you really have to stretch your brain a little bit further and try to remember something that might be a struggle. It might be remembering phone numbers. It might be remembering a poem, a new recipe. These are the different things we're trying to teach our residents and make sure they have the ability to participate if they want.
That's great. So now moving on to the body. So we all know that physical activity is good for everyone. But how specifically does physical activity, how are they included in the programming, and how much does it truly contribute to the cognitive brain and health?
It's very important. So, for years, I would even say centuries, people have been searching for the fountain of youth. And I feel like the researchers are there, and it's very simple. You have to have physical activity in your daily life. You have to have cognitive stimulation, purpose and social interactions, and good nutrition is what I add into that. So physical activity is so important for your overall health. It doesn't necessarily stimulate memory, but it does most certainly support cognitive stimulation and the health of your brain. We do a lot of different physical activities in the community. They're more based off of the community and what their residents would like to do. But we go from Tai Chi to yoga to meditation, weightlifting, strength training, water aerobics if they have a pool. And so we're really encouraging that part of the overall wellness plan is to have people get physically fit. We know it helps your heart health. We know it decreases your incidence of heart attack or stroke, which by far those two things alone can affect your brain health. So it's pretty important.
Yeah, and you talk about healthy eating. Explain how healthy eating is a part of our brain programming.
It's going back to teaching the why. If I understand the why, maybe I won't eat a hot dog every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part where healthy nutrition, is it going to reverse the disease process? It's not, but it most certainly plays a big part in your overall health. So as we're getting now into flu and cold season, how do we increase our immune response? So if we can have bone broth or dark leafy greens or fruits and vegetables that reduce your inflammation, which helps tremendously with the overall health of your brain. And so it is very important. And again, it's like that three-legged stool where you have good nutrition, physical activity, and brain health.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah, great. And so now spirit, I know that's a big one for the programming. First of all, before we get into that, explain some tools or tips that are used in our program that help support cognition.
Focusing on the three main factors: the physical fitness, the brain health, and the social interactions. That is the tips. What can we do? Because there is no better feeling than affiliation. And so when you can get individuals who don't really know each other to socially interact with each other, learn something new, learn something about each other, that's that whole sense of being, which helps your reason for living, your purpose in life. And how do we share that? If you were a Spanish teacher and I always wanted to learn Spanish, you could teach me. And then that gives you a purpose and that gives me a meaning. So it's really bringing all of these factors together. And that's how we make a very robust calendar. We try to give a lot of different options for our residents. But the most important is telling them the why this is important. And not only for our residents, for their family members, for our employees, for all of us. This is something we can do to help each other through it.
Yeah. Can you kind of explain a little bit more about how the socialization contributes to overall brain health versus somebody who's not quite as social?
Research shows that social engagement by far helps you remain the ability to think, mm-hmm. to have that ability to problem solve, to remember, to interact. Now, interacting can be hard because as we're talking, you have to pay attention to me and be able to respond. And for people, that's hard.
Yeah.
When they're trying to process, what did she just say? Where am I going? What am I doing? So that social interaction is so important because it really trains your brain how to think through different scenarios and different things. So I would say by far, the social engagement is the most important thing. It's getting people together, having those meaningful conversations, because if you feel like you have a purpose in life and you belong, that's really a good day.
Absolutely.
That's what makes it
mm-hmm.
happen. And so that's why we strive for and we recognize that just because there's an activity on the calendar, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody is engaging with somebody else. And that is the one thing that Brain Health, our program we're doing, the stories I'm hearing where a neighbor did a session with another neighbor, and then they were like, we've lived next door for years and we didn't even know each
mm-hmm.
other. Or we had another group that one was an avid skier, a snow skier, and the other was an avid hiker. Well, their health did not allow them to do that any longer. But what they learned was that support on how important it was, but that they're not alone. It's okay. That was something we did in the past. We can't do it anymore, but let's go have fun together and go do something. And so I think the stories that are coming out of it, and that's my takeaway, is how it actually created a support group for our residents and each other. And it's giving them the courage to put themselves out there a little bit by telling a neighbor who they are and what their likes are, and really adapting to it's okay to be sad sometimes. And life is hard. Life is
mm-hmm.
hard, and especially hard when you are starting to notice memory decline.
All right, so a lot of great information. Jodie, thanks again for all of your wealth and knowledge. And until next time.